Hello, everybody. Welcome to the End Time to Television. How are you doing today? Happy weekend. Hope this video meets you well. Now, there is a video I want to show you here where a pastor, a reverend priest, brought masquerade into the church. This video definitely will divide opinions. So many people will see it as preserving the African culture, but it will be what it will be to those who understand that you don't mix Christ and Satan. You don't mix diabolic and anti-God tradition of the people, tradition of men with the worship of God. So this happened inside church. You're going to see it. But before that, there is a story I want to tell you, a very sad story. This thing happened to somebody I know. He used to be one of my pastors in my former church. He is late now. A very good man that came from the background of the White Garment Church. Now, some of the things I know about the White Garment Church, he told me some of the things that they did while he was there. In fact, I need to be direct. Celestial Church, Celestial Church. So he came there as he rose to the level of a prophet and somehow became sick at the point of death. That's for those of you who say there's no miracle. At the point of death, the hospital has rejected him and all his prophets and all the things that they knew how to do in his church failed. But a simple prayer from the man he came to know as his pastor, was all that saved his life. He began to amend. The size of the man was humongous when he was sick. Every part of his body swollen. His organs began to fail, but God in his infinite mercy brought him back to life. Now, why I need to go this far is to tell you how much religion can affect your thinking. This man, after he recovered, became a radical for Jesus. Now, somewhere around 2010, that was when he passed on. So I didn't even know that he was sick, to the point of what I want to tell you now. Now, I'm telling you this so that you can understand.
You are welcome to the End Time Truth Television, the channel for the lovers of truth, for the truth of the end time. So if you are a lover of truth, give us a subscription and God bless you. Shalom.
Of what I want to tell you now. Now, I'm telling you this so that you can understand when we are telling you that Christ is sacrosanct. You don't mix Christ with tradition. You don't mix Christ with ATR, African traditional religion. You don't mix Christ with the Babylonian worship. All right. So he was sick. I knew when he died. Of course, I went there. It was a very sad news. Suddenly, he just came back, from work. And after eating food, it was said his wife complained of headache. So he was praying for the wife. Suddenly, he started coughing. And from coughing, his tongue started protruding from his mouth. And that was it. He died. Now, the death was a mysterious death that 24 hours after his death was when blood started coming out from his heart to his mouth. So now what is it that I want to tell you? Now, while he was sick, there was this pastor he went to meet, not his own pastor now, a pastor in another church, who happens to be his tribesman. So the instruction that the pastor gave him was for him to go and price coffin as in casket, coffin, coffin. That he should go and price where he should go to where they are building or selling coffin, and he should select anyone, make a choice of the one that if he was to buy his own coffin, that would be the one he would buy. He should price it and return with the exact amount of money that the seller told him was the price, and come and use it as a seed. Brethren, this man who knew what they practiced when he was at the other side, he told us, some of the things that they practice. So it's not as if I'm making it up. He told us even the things that they use the Bible Psalms to do sometimes. So he knew all these things, but it's a surprise that he actually obeyed that instruction, went and priced the casket, and eventually brought the money as a seed to the pastor that gave him the instruction. Guess what? After a few days, he died that way he died. Now, when I heard this thing, I said, God, how is it that we have come to this point in our lives that pastors will be given this kind of instruction? Now, whether you know it or not, The man eventually bought that. He bought the coffin. He paid for it. He bought his own coffin. Yes, he didn't carry it home, but spiritually, that was the transaction. He died. You know why I'm telling you this story? The instruction that may be given to you may not be like the one that I have just told you the story here. But it might just be that you might walk into a trap set for you by the enemy of your soul using a religious leader to mislead you and make you, captivate yourself and imprison yourself. Then you become a lawful captive. You know, the Bible talked about the lawful captive. How can a man, do such thing? Listen, he did it, and in the spiritual realm, I believe he bought it. The transaction was carried out. That is just the truth. So you need to be careful where you go to, most especially when you are desperate. In desperation, there is no faith in desperation. In desperation, there is no reasoning in desperation. When people are desperate, that is when they are taken advantage of. Now, in desperation, you can go to an SMO, and an SMO will give you something that looks like a solution, and you will obey their instruction, and eventually, you would have sold yourself sheep to the devil. I'd like to encourage you, brothers and sisters, when you are desperately needing miracle, trust Jesus. He will give you one. And if the will of God be that you will go through that thing, submit to the will of God. Any instruction that is contrary to the scriptures, we keep telling you. Any instruction or revelation or prophecy that is contrary to the Bible should never, ever, ever be obeyed by anybody. Once it is contrary to the scriptures, stay away from it. It is not from God. It is not godly. It is from the devil. Now, listen, a spirit can inspire somebody to tell you something, but you may not even know the spirit. But how would you know? Knowing it, you can know it from the Bible, comparing that thing which you have been told, with the word of God, the Bible. Now, having said this, I'd like you to also look at this. You won't believe that this is happening in a church. Now, I don't have so much to say, but you have seen that. And I am surprised because I remember when I was a kid in the 80s, I remember when the masquerade cult in our place, in those days, when the masquerade yard was supposed to be cleared or to cleansed, so that the masquerade dance would take place in that yard. Anybody, mostly women, that failed to come to register their presence in those days, after the work has been done, they will carry the masquerade and they will visit every family that nobody represented. Or even if probably there are 4 men who are initiates of that masquerade cult. Now, anyone that fails to come around, in as much as that person was around, now they will come to your compound, whatever thing they see, whether it is your own, anything they see. It can be goat, it can be cow, it can be anybody's property. Even if a stranger's property straight into, or livestock straight into your compound, or they saw something that is tangible, whether it is your own, they will carry it. Now you have to pay the person who owns it. If it is your own, you bear it, So they normally do that in those days. So there is, and that was when the Catholic Charismatic Renewal Movement, charism, was at its formative level. So there was this Reverend Father in our place that time, the first Reverend Father in our parish then, St. Andrew's Catholic Church. So the man one day called on able-bodied, people in the charism, because most victims of that raid happened to be people in charism. So the Reverend Father was leading the procession. The heads, people who are in charge, who are the heads of the masquerade cult. Now, people began to point their house. Once they point their house, we will enter there. I was small. There was one brother Lambert, very huge, full of life. He will be the one that will enter. Now, if people, whether they are around or not, anything we see, we carry. In some places, we carry television, we carry everything. That was the end of that intimidation. It ended. So, and I grew up to know that, Roman Catholic, is into the system, and the system normally is into the Roman Catholic, but the issue of masquerade was not part of it then. There was eventually another Reverend Father that came, and in fact, he loved the masquerade dance. Sometimes he will even spread the masquerade money. But for this thing to come into the church is another thing entirely. And the question is, what are the leadership, the council of bishops, doing about this kind of a thing? Or does it mean that Roman Catholic has legalized and normalized masquerade, and it can actually be brought into the church? Now, why I say it's Roman Catholic is that the regalia of the priest and the Reverend Sister that I saw there shows that that is a Roman Catholic setting. But beyond Roman Catholic setting, there are some Christians, believers, who actually they identify with Christ in the township, but they go home and play the masquerade. Now you must define where you are. Remember the story I told you before. If you are for Christ, stay for Christ. If you are for tradition, mind your tradition. Now that's misinterpretation of what Jesus said, give to Caesar what is Caesar's and to God what is God's. It is not a permission for you to serve God and idol. That is not what it means. Read it in the context. It has to do with responsibility of the person who believes in Christ, a Christian, to the community that he belongs to, and also in his service of God, because in his serving God. Because some persons would say they are now Christians when it comes to development levy that if everybody pays in their community. Now they will say no, they are not part of it. So giving to Caesar what is Caesar's has nothing to do with you can serve the devil and serve Christ. If you want to serve Christ, serve Christ. If you want to serve the devil, serve the devil. Thank you, and God bless you. Seeing you in the next video. Till then, I want to ask you to put down your comment in the comment section. Let's know what you think about it. From me to you, Shalom.